I'm asked Mr. Smoot to come up and talk about the Black College Coaches Association of America and share some insights from their standpoint about their challenges, their successes, and what have you. So I ask, please bring Jamila and Dr. Smoot, or Leonard Smoot up here to talk about, your doctor to me, what's going on. So thank you very much. And I want you to stick around. There's more after this, so we'll have awards and what have you. And so I don't care if it's 10 in the room or 10,000. We're going to do what we have to do, but we're going to do it on time, too.
Absolutely.
All right.
Well, first of all, Jim, thank you. And as he's putting this flash drive in, I'd just like to say, when Jim asked me would I come and speak, I'm pretty much the kind of individual, I just like talking. I think open dialogue, conversation, talking about opportunities, and I know I've been coming here to this Expo ever since it started, when Dr. Cooper started introducing this to us. And being in a room full of us, I think is critically important that we be able to do things and accomplish things. I met DeBert, I met her in Alabama. Matter of fact, when she came to Alabama was the very first time that I met her, and been connected to her ever since. It's been very exciting to see her. Miss Peggy White, I met her back when they were in Nashville and doing the Ted Rose event at Hermitage. That's where I first met them. So I mean, the world is small. I mean, we're all connected in one way or another. And we're, by virtue of golf, we're definitely all connected one way or the other. And I know that is a pleasure. I am the president of the Black College Golf Coaches Association, and I bring my right-hand person, Jamila Johnson, who's been critical in helping me and our board move this organization forward. We are an organization of college coaches at our HBCUs. We have 37 men programs, and we have 22 women programs throughout the country of HBCUs that participate at the collegiate level, Division I, Division II, NAIA, and we do well. And that's important. It's been important to me. I'll give you a little bit of background about me. I'm a retired Marine. I spent 24 years of my life in the Marine Corps, and I'm the third African American to ever make the Marine Corps golf team. And I used to watch the PGA Minority Collegiate Championship on television that was tape recorded at the time, and while I was stationed overseas in Okinawa, Japan, and throughout the country and throughout the world. So I'm kind of new to the collegiate level if you kind of really think back, you know, because I've been really involved in this space for about 10 years. But you know, sometimes God puts you in places that He ordained. So He ordained that many years ago before I even stepped foot outside the Marine Corps. So coming into this space, I've always wanted to be connected. I always wanted to stay connected to what we do and how we help young people thrive to be better, and the military helped me through that. So I wanted to continue that after I retired and continue to pour into young people and help them. And golf was a means of where I wanted to stay connected. So throughout that time, well, the BCGCA was formed, I want to say, back in 1986 initially, and with Eddie Payton. And I believe that's where it all kind of arrived. But it was a bunch of coaches that came together primarily to have this, you know, talk about, you know, their concerns and issues like that. And then in 2020, our previous president and I and others said that we had to really, in order to solidify this organization, create this 501c3 in 2020, so we created it. And for the first time in the history of the organization, and Jamila and I, that's right, my right hand, I speak about her often. Often do I speak about her because of her commitment, not only as a player at Jackson State, but also a committed female that's committed to golf. Her mom and her mom's out there in the past been committed to golf for a long, long time. So I always honor her as my right hand because I couldn't do it without her. So with that being said, the Black College Golf Coaches in 2020 was formed with the 501c3, and I'm proud to say that as of today, we've raised more money as of today as an organization that the organization has ever raised in the last 2 years. And that's because of the hard work and dedication, the board, myself, and my right hand, and just reaching out to the community, reaching out to organizations that have provided support, provided and committed to us. And that's just, at the end of the day, it's about relationships. And if you have good relationships, then you can go a long ways through those relationships. So next slide.
Just touch the screen. Just touch it.
Just touch it. Okay, what is the BCGC, the Black College Golf Coaches Association? Obviously, I said we've evolved into a premier organization serving the needs of intercollegiate minority golf programs. The BCG enhances the world of golf, black college golf, by focusing on 3 areas: scholarships, player development, education, professional development for coaches, financial and operational support for minority intercollegiate programs. And you heard me say, this is what we're about: supporting our HBCUs, making sure that we give back to our HBCUs. How do we continue to grow our HBCUs? Through scholarships, how do we continue to provide those scholarships and assist the players that are playing at our colleges and providing them with the necessary monies to, I'm a big believer in being debt-free. So how do we support them? Player development, that's obviously we're continuing to provide those resources through, as you heard yesterday, we had Kenyatta Ramsey here yesterday. We had the PGA of America. Jeff Price was here. Kenny Sims was here. Those are just a few of the organizations. The PGA, Ralph Stokes was here. The PGA Superstore has provided support to us, along with the SAS, who is, we play alongside of SAS, the SAS Championship in North Carolina with the pros, the seniors. So you got the HBCUs, typically about 15 HBCUs that are in Prestonwood playing alongside the senior tour. At the same time, at the end of that tournament, the HBCU winners are also recognized at the same time of the champions winner on that day, that Sunday. So HBCUs have gotten a lot of support from the organizations, and I'd like to give that shout out to Kenyatta Ramsey and what them. We also, with that being said, we also, the Bridgestone HBCU Invitational, that takes place every year. So that's in Atlanta. We will be back in Atlanta September the 2nd through the 4th at TPC Sugarloaf. So our student athletes are getting opportunities to play at some of the best golf courses in the country. And I'll just kind of throw a shout out to my golf team. That opportunity came through the PGA Tour, where Miles College went to Japan to compete this past last year, this September. So those opportunities are being presented to our student athletes, and that's something that I've pushed for, Jamila has pushed for, the board has pushed for, to give better opportunity to our student athletes, whether they want to play professionally or whether they want a career path in some of these different organizations, such as SAS and other industries. Obviously, the farmers insurance open, we get support from farmers as well, so I don't want to leave them out. In terms of professional development, a lot of the tournaments that we go to, we have panel discussions. We meet with a lot of senior executives at these different events. So we have panel discussions, high-level executives that help. Education, professional development, that's a part of it. Financial and operational support, I talked about that. And at this point, what I'm going to do is let Jamila come up and talk a little bit, because I'm a big advocate for our women golf programs, and she has all that knowledge. And so I'm going to have her come up, and then I'm going to come back. But I am very, very supportive of our women program. We got some talented female golfers at our HBCUs. They're doing amazing things. Obviously, Kendall Jackson, everybody knows Kendall Jackson at Howard University. But we have others that at North Carolina A&T and North Carolina Central that are doing amazing things. So at this time, I'm going to let her and her, then we'll switch back and forth. But I want her to talk a little bit about our women programs and how we can support our women programs as well.
Well, I'm not physically as tall as Smoot, but I promise you I can fill this room. Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Jamila Johnson. I serve on the board as the secretary for the Black College Golf Coaches Association. I also serve as the PGA internship coordinator at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, which is one of my alma maters. I attended Jackson State on a 4-year golf scholarship with the prestigious Eddie Payton. And for the most part, I am a big advocate of women's golf. I grew up in Detroit, Michigan, playing golf for the Hollywood Golf Institute. Selena Johnson, as he said, is my mother, and that program has been around for over 43 years, introducing over 5,000 children to the game of golf and 250 or more going to school on full or partial scholarships. That being said, being a young lady who grew up playing the game, a child of color, again, I'm close to 50 years old. So that being said, I've had my share of experiences over the years, and I have always been an advocate for golf, because growing up at that time, it was a lot of challenges when I would step on the golf course, and I know my ladies in who play golf. When I step on the course, even to this day, there are a lot of assumptions that are made. The minute I step on the course as a woman, it is assumed that I cannot play, or that I am more concerned about my cuteness than my handicap. And then often when they see me as a person of color, truth be told, I am often considered part of the help of the golf course. That being said, being part of a golf team and growing up and playing for Jackson State, which is a historically black college university in Jackson, Mississippi, we were cutting edge at the time that I played golf. Most of us are familiar with the automatic bid, that if you won your conference championship, you automatically went to the NCAA regionals. At the time that when I went to college, going to the NCAA regionals was an invitation. It was not an automatic bid. And our school, Jackson State, was the first HBCU to be invited to the NCAA championship. Our men's team, and then later on, our women's team was the first HBCU to be invited to the NCAA championship. And it wasn't, at the time they thought it was the strength of field, and they said, oh, we're not inviting you, but our guys were bad. When I tell you they were bad, they were bad. And they did earn that invitation with the help of, and I cannot think of his name at this time, it leaves me, but when it pops in my head, I will blurt it out. And then later on, our women's team, like I said, was the first. That being said, I have a passion for this on so many levels, and I hope I communicated that well. I am a big advocate. When I played for college, every school in the SWAC had a men's and a women's team. But then as our HBCUs look for funding, they cut almost all the women's teams from all the HBCUs, and then eventually they cut the men's teams. Well, I'm proud to stand here and tell you that many of those teams are starting to come back. When, like he said, like Smoot said, when we first the association itself has been around for almost 40 years now. And when we really started organizing and got our 501c3, we only had 7 women's teams. 7 or 8 women's HBCUs that had active women's team. And like he said, we are proud to speak now that we have over 22 women's teams at the HBCUs established. So we are really excited about that comeback. So I want you to clap for that because that was a lot of work, and a lot of dedicated people stepped up. A lot of people wanted to see the change, and not just myself as an advocate, but a lot of people advocated. A lot of coaches took on the double role of being a coach to the men's team and the women's, and going out and recruiting. And for those who know, once you get up to a collegiate level, many of our students stop playing at 12 and 13 when it comes to young ladies. They stop playing around 12 or 13. So to have a young woman who gets all the way to the collegiate level, who still wants to compete on the highest level and ascend, is very difficult to recruit. So I'm really excited about our coaches. Since that time, one of the several of the partnerships that we have been able to form along with the organizations that we've been working with, the Women's Golf Coaches Association of America and the Golf Coaches Association of America, which is a huge supporter of the BCGCA. We were able to establish All-American Awards, Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, some of those awards for the men, and the WGCA saw it fit along with the GCAA to make sure that our women were recognized as well with All-American, Coach of the Year, all Player of the Year, Freshman of the Rookie and Freshman of the Year, and things of that nature. So we are really excited about that. We've had the opportunity to create several scholarships, and so that women also benefit from those scholarships and have individual scholarships, not just supporting the teams themselves, but also supporting the players, because we know that everybody's pursuit is not to make it to the tour, but to actually have a career in golf. And so we also have found ways to provide scholarships to support the student athlete, because they are first, what's the first word I said, you all? I said a what athlete? A student athlete. So again, they can't, if they don't get the grades, if they don't perform well in the classroom, then they have no chance to perform and compete on the collegiate level, because it starts with them being a student. So we find ways to support them financially and academically as well. And so we've created scholarships for the young women as well as the young men. And then most importantly, when I first joined the board for almost, well, yeah, I've been on the board for 8 years, but when I started the men's golf team at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, so I'm one of the few women to ever coach a Division I men's golf team. I started the men's golf team there. And when I started the men's golf team at the time, I was the only African-American woman in the country coaching a Division I men's team. I went to the NCAA Coaches Academy for women. I did the master level for the NCAA Coaches Academy for women, and I found that I was the only African-American woman, and they have data and all of that stuff. They do the research, and they told me I was the only one in the country. So that being said, now with the help of the BCGA, we have had many of the young ladies who have graduated from the HBCUs, and now they have come back to be assistant coaches, and now some of them are actually head coaches. So the wonderful thing is, I'm not the only one who has coached. I'm not the only one who will coach, and we are developing the players to take up the realms and create sustainability, to create mentorship among the women players so that they can in turn become coaches as well, not just of women teams, but of men teams as well. And so we're very proud of the work that we have done supporting our women athletes, supporting the next generation of coaches, and supporting, most importantly, our student athletes. So I'm going to turn it back over to Smoot.
Y'all see why? So y'all see why she's my right hand. Wealth of knowledge, been in the game a long time, and can speak to the history, not only of just golf, college golf, but the history of junior golf with her mom's being, I'm from Flint, Michigan, they're from Detroit. So that's why it's always a pleasure to have her with me on stage. She talked about funding and what the BCGCA, we have given out almost 65,000.
More than that.
Well, we established in 2 years in what we've done for the very first time. We submitted an IRS 990 form. We raised almost $225,000 just based on relationships. That's not even, but we need more help. We need more help. We need our communities to be more involved. I see Lauren back there. What's up, girl? She's been very helpful as well back there at AJGA. But we've raised that money in 2 years. But we are going to raise more money so that we help our student athletes thrive for wherever they're trying to do in life. That's our goal. But we've given out grant money. We've given out, she's talked about scholarships. We've given out scholarships to both men and women. And I think Taylor was in here yesterday. She graduated from Delaware State and the grad program. And she walked up to me yesterday and said, Coach Smoot, we thank you so much. I got the letter, but I said, well, as long as you got it helped you, that's all we really care about. And that's what we all should care about, is helping them. Now, with that being said, let me see what we got up next here. The professional development for our coaches. That's something that I'm working on right now. I don't know how many of you all know Sam Perrier. Obviously, everybody knows Sam Perrier at Howard University. Andy Walker, who is currently now at Eastern Michigan. We actually have 2 current African-American coaches at mid-major schools. Eastern Michigan, Andy Walker, and Kevin Jennings, who's at Central Michigan. We're making some strides with our coaches, but we got to do a better job with our coaches. Not only do we need to do a better job, we need to find more coaches to come in. We need more assistant coaches to come in and take over, because I believe in succession planning. At some point, we all going to be going out the door, and all the work that we've poured into getting things where we got them today, where those folks going to come behind everyone to move us forward. So we're looking for more assistant coaches. We're looking for more women coaches to kind of take over our HBCUs and continue to grow. Last year, I even talked about our juniors last year, because myself and some former players sat right back there in that back seat, and everybody sat at their round tables where they felt comfortable. We got a lot of folks that's involved in the junior programs. I got one of Jairus Baker, who's come out. Ms. Johnson's came out, her program, who plays for me. But we need more of that. How do you all help us identify young talent across the country? Because I even talked to this gentleman from Colorado or New Jersey. How do we identify these young people that want to play collegiate golf and perhaps play collegiate golf at the HBCU level? But we, as coaches, can't do it, even though we go around the country looking for these players and trying to identify. We need your help, because I look at it like I talk to my players. We are a village, and we all need to help each other. And we all need to help these young people. So that, is critical to continuing to grow, grow the game, get our young people in college who want to play at the next level. Someone also came to me talking about how do the young people get connected to coaches? Well, obviously, Jamila touched on grades. I'm big on that. Your GPAs are very vitally important. ACT SAT scores, having a resume, presenting it to a coach at a college of your choice that you might want to attend. I think that becomes vitally important, and we at the BCGCA also helps with that. I mean, I'll use a story from one young man from Ohio that I had never met that was failing at a community college, right? Mom had passed away from leukemia, didn't have a direction, called me up. I could have hung up the phone and said, hey, I don't have a spot, right? He was getting all Fs at his community college. And I took the time, just taking the time, didn't know what he looked like, didn't know him, but taking the time when I heard his story to just say, hey, I want you to do this, and I'm gonna walk you through it. I want you to go back to your community college. I want you to take that obituary. I want you to write this letter and request to get those grades removed from your transcript. He came back to me several weeks later. He said, Coach, they took all my Fs off and wiped the slate clean. And now that young man, I got him in, still hadn't met him. I got him into Lamont On, which was in our conference, so I can keep an eye on him, right? But he didn't fit in well there. He said, Coach, I don't, so guess where he's at now? He's at Winston-Salem. He's over there with Coach Penny. He's about to graduate, right? He's about to graduate, and he still reaches back to me, say, hey, Coach. I said, well, how you doing? Coach, I'm good. That same kid, we gave a scholarship to. We gave him a $2,000 scholarship. There's another kid that was going to come to Miles College, and I said, well, hold up. Let's think about this. I'm going to give you X amount of dollars to come to Miles College. Right? Yeah, okay, Coach. No, let's do this. I'm going to send you down to Bishop. I'm going to call the coach. I'm going to send you down to Bishop and get you a full ride down to Bishop College. And then 2 years later, if you decide you want to come back to Miles College, I guarantee you a spot on Miles College golf team. Well, that kid, we didn't have his program at Miles College. So guess where he's at? I kept my eyes on him. He still talks to him, and I still talk today. I called Savannah State. The first time around, the coach didn't call him back. I called the coach. I said, look, let me tell you something. Call the kid back. At least give him a conversation. Now, that kid, or student athlete, Jamila, that student athlete is now at Savannah State about to graduate. At the end of the day, we won conference championship. We just won conference championship. We won the 2021 PGA Works. It's not about the trophy. The trophy is within our student athlete. That's the trophy that I can 10 years down the road, I can go back and say, how you doing? And see the success story. So that's what the BCGCA is about. All the coaches help within our own communities. We talk quite a bit. So it's about helping that student athlete achieve their goals. And then finally, again, financial and operational support for our college programs. We need help. I see Ernie back there. I talked to him yesterday. I need to talk to him. There's others in this room that can help us. Giving Tuesdays, things of that nature. I just talked to Burke Cook. Her and I are going to get together and discuss some things. Miss Peggy, back there in the back, I approached her this past year, her and Tiffany. I approached her about the Ted Rose Perseverance Award. And we gave out our first Ted Rose Perseverance Award. I'm all about recognizing us. And, you know, and as I've sat in the seat as the president, it's about recognizing us and making sure that we have our own legends within our own communities. And that's what I, as a president, want to recognize, get to the point where we recognize, is whether we give out a journalism award, internship awards. Why don't we recognize the people that are doing amazing things within our own communities, right? I stood up here and I heard some of the media, social media guys talk about sometimes we want to reach outside. We got billionaires within our own communities. We don't always have to reach outside. We can reach inside and seek out the same kind of support. In addition, having those people provide the support. We got talented professional men and women that we should be supporting today. I heard them talk about Willie Mack. Willie Mack grew up in Flint, Michigan. So did I. Shasta grew up in Flint, Michigan. So did I. But Tim O'Neill, he's stuck with his craft. He's now making money on the senior tour. But we got to start helping us. And that's what the BCGC is all about. And we will continue to be about that and providing that support. These are some of the organizations that we get help from. I don't have the CAA up there. CAA, Octagon, some of these organizations, Farmers Insurance, SAS. The GCAA has been amazing to us. I give Dustin Roberts an amazing applause because he's been very supportive. Lauren and them been very, very supportive of the BCGCA. Jim Beatty, very supportive because him and I sit up on the phone and talk. I've been trying to get him to come to Birmingham. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody in this room that's doing amazing things around the country. I want to thank, again, come up here. Sometimes sometimes I can be emotional because this person right here has been my rock. She's been every time I pick up the phone, it don't matter what time I call her at night or something. I'm not a tech person. So anytime I pick up the phone to call her and say, hey, we need to do this, what'd you think? Or, hey, we got to submit this grant. Thank you to Make Golf Your Thing, because they have tremendously been a big, big supporter of ours. So thank you to them. But without her, I don't think I could have accomplished all the things that I've accomplished since I've been the president. So that's why, my vice president ain't here, but I always bring my secretary because I think she's the one that she deserves the most recognition amongst all of us in this space. And so I just, again, every time I get the opportunity to say thank you to her, I tell her thank you. And a lot of times we tend not to do that because we can't do this by ourselves. It's impossible that we can do it. It's the people that, it's the people that's underneath us that make us who we are. And sometimes we forget that. So again, thank you, Jamila. Everything that you do, we couldn't do it without you. It's been a pleasure, Jim. Thank you for allowing us to have this opportunity. Our website is hbcugolf.org. If you want to check us out, our currently boards consist of myself, Sam Poirier, Andy Walker, Lee Coble, and Kevin Jennings, and Kendra Green, who all are coaching or in the administrative space. So if you want to be involved, we would love for you to be involved. We got my man back there, Dr. Sales back there. He's gonna be my neuroscientist, science guy for our golf team. So amazing gentleman. We had him at our Golf Coaches Association. This came down last year and hung out in Las Vegas. So I appreciate him for spending that time with us last year. and kind of giving us some insight. So with that being said, I just want to say from the Black College Golf Coaches Association, thank you. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. If you can support us, support our coaches, our student athletes, we will continue to work for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can take questions now. Yes, ma'am.
Did you come up to the mic because we are recording it, Mom?
And while she walks up to the mic, the only other thank yous I want to give, I want to thank all of you all who have been in this business, you know, for 20 years, 30 years. I realize that I didn't start this. I have so many people to thank for the Shoulders, the Midwest District, the Western States, the Bill Dickies, all the folks for the green grass organizations that are no longer around, even the leagues that are no longer around. For the newer people, I want to thank you all for picking up the reins because, again, this can't continue for, if you've only been in it for 5 years or 3 years or 2 years or 10 years, thank you for picking up the reins because this can only go forward if somebody is doing the work. So thank you for deciding to help the next generation move forward.
Good afternoon, or good morning. Leonard, appreciate this presentation today. My question is not to put you and the HBCUs on the spot, but to seek your help and what we should do to help you. So studies that I've done for NGPDF and the kids that we're trying to help, at the end of the day, there's 8,600 males that play NCAA, Division I, II, III, HBCU included, 5,700 females in the same class. Only 45% are African-American males and 44% are African-American females. So the programs that we're doing are to develop better players. How do we then get them transitioned to HBCUs, major colleges, those that don't fit the major college mold, get them to the HBCUs so that HBCUs start to bring more kids of color onto their teams? So.
Well, that's a very good question. I give mine. I'm gonna give you, let you from your educational standpoint, give yours as well. But from my perspective, when it comes to, and I'll speak. Because I made a statement last year that my platform at Miles College is global and is by design is global because we live in a global society. So I do have a cross mixture of students, and there's been times where that has shifted, where I may have more, others than blacks, but I have like 60 to 70% of my team today, right now, is black. But a lot of what I find from a coaching perspective is that a lot of them, our parents are at fault. I think when we talk about some of our elite players currently, they don't reach back. We don't get resumes, right? They don't have the NCAA eligibility ID numbers that we need to put that information into the IRL, which is called our individual request list. So a lot of times those players might get lost, right? That was what I've talked to several students that I talked to today, i.e. Coleman, who's at Maryland Eastern Shores now. I said, you can go to a school of your choice, and that's the school that he decided on, even though I tried to recruit him. So a lot of our students also want to play at the Division I level, but you may not be Division I level quality, right? On the other hand, we do have programs that don't recruit. And I'm just going to be frank and honest. They don't recruit because it's about winning, right? So they don't recruit them. So they get looked over. Obviously I heard Tennessee State's name mentioned before. I think yesterday was mentioned. I mean, there's schools that just don't recruit our kids. So how do we fix that problem? One is what you're doing, right? We got to get them to the level of competition where they can compete at the Division I level or Division II level. You know, I don't mind bringing a kid shooting 80 or 79 to get them to 72 to 73, because I've done it, right? So one, the student athletes got to get more involved. They've got to reach out to the coaches. Two, the parents have to also realize that their child may not be at that level, right? They just being frank, and a coach, whether you at a PWI or HBCU, are not going to recruit that kid. It's just not going to happen. So we have to do a better job in our community. Jairus Baker is an amazing kid. She's done an amazing job with Jairus, and Jairus gives her a lot of credit, right? I've had kids that come in. I got a kid that I redshirted, a single parent home, brought him in and said, hey, Mom, he can come here, but he's not going to start this year. But he wanted to be at Miles. She wanted him at Miles because I'm going to teach you some Marine Corps training. You're going to get some Marine Corps training. Because the mom that's what she's expecting, right? She's expecting it. So if we can get to the point where our kids are let me stop calling them kids, student athletes, our students can get to the point where they realize their level of play and go to an institution that will help them improve their skill level and not think unrealistic that they are D1 eligible, qualified. Because I'll give you there's some more schools about to come back online. We just talked to Kendra Green. The North Carolina state system is going to require some of our schools to have both men and women programs coming back online. So there's going to be places for these kids. The downside to the Division I level is with this recent settlement, right, that now these schools are going to have to downsize their programs at the D1 level down to 9 players. So there's going to be other opportunities at some of the Division II schools where our kids can get into these programs to compete.
So just as a follow-up, what would be helpful for developmental programs is for
I'm gonna let you answer that.
HBCU coaches and any coaches to really kind of give us a guide of what we should be doing for those young people that are 11 years old. So by the time they're ready for your radar screen, they have all the qualifications that you're speaking of, but that we can start to help to marry the parents with the requirements and the criterias when they're younger, so that as they're developing over those 5-6 years of high school, junior high and high school, that when they get ready, it's like when you're ready to go to college and you've done the work prior to, but we need to know what that work is that we should be focusing on and where those areas are that we're missing, so that as we work with our developmental programs, we're hitting those areas so that they're ready.
Well, I'm going to say this one thing, and then I'm going to let her interject, because I know she's got some insight on that as well. When I first came into this space after I retired out of the Marine Corps, I came into this space. One of the first things I had did is went to Bill Dickey's event. And Bill Dickey was doing a lot of education during that time with those student athletes that had gone on and did bigger and better things. Education. I mean, for us as coaches, we're able to come out, and we can't recruit per se, we can evaluate. I think that's one thing from my perspective, is we got to be able to come out and support what you're doing, the kind of the student athletes that are wanting to play at the next level. How do they get educated? If you don't know about NCAA guidelines and that you got to get in, you got to have your NCAA eligibility. When do you start that? 2, when you gonna start building your resume, or do you even have a resume? Right? That's one. Those are two things. So I'm going to let her kind of touch on the juniors piece and the other aspects of it.
And he actually went exactly the direction. So if you have a junior program and you're trying to figure out how to develop your students to be for the next level, it does first start with education. But I wouldn't say so much that you would, hopefully, yes, you can get the coaches to come out and talk to your players. But as the educator or the lead person, one, start with the NCAA Eligibility Center. They have a guide that's been coming out for the last probably at least 15, 20 years online. You can just go to the Eligibility Center, and it starts off like, so you want to be a student athlete. And it tells you all the classes that they need to take and what are the things and the criteria in order to be eligible for a Division I school, what is required to be eligible for a Division school, 2, NA, IA, Level 3, so on and so forth. That book and guide updates every year. So as the person who is the leader of the program or whoever is your educational coordinator, have them pull that guide and just kind of see what are the criteria. They don't have to, and it actually, the book starts and it takes a student all the way from the 9th grade all the way through the 12th, the steps that they need to do and the things that they need to prepare for in classes. Because sometimes we have students who play excellent golf, but they're not academically eligible on any level because they haven't taken the right classes, they have to get redshirt, so we can't offer them scholarships and things of that nature. So that is one of the places that you can start. 2, this might sound funny, but I'm gonna say it like this. Please have parental sessions if you can get the parents involved. Every child who picks up a golf club is not gonna go to school on a golf scholarship. But we have sold that myth over and over again. If they play golf, they'll go to school on a scholarship. That is the farthest from the truth. If they are not competitive, if they do not shoot certain scores, on a competitive level, Johnny shoots a 92. I'm so sorry. Johnny might not even be competitive on a high school level, let alone get a college scholarship. So one of the things that you have to recognize, and if you're interested in seeing what college scores look like, the key is to get them involved in middle school, find out what schools they might be interested, what their degree they might be interested, because again, the university, I've had middle school students, I say, well, why do you want to go to that school? I like the mascot. Well, that has nothing to do with the degree that you're looking to pursue. So look into some of the schools and see which HBCUs actually have a vast majority of different scholarships and programs. Find out what they're interested in, and then look and see what scores or what are most websites and statistics, golf stats, Clipped and things like that. You can see what the winning score is and what those teams are shooting to win. So then that would tell you whether or not certain students have a chance of actually securing a spot at that university. Like you said, now that the NIL has changed the lawsuit, again, if there's only so many slots, what is the chances this student might have a better opportunity at this university versus that university? So making ourselves educated, and again, these are things that wouldn't necessarily take all day to do, but it is something that is required to educate the coaches, educate the...
Talk to them about the stacking too, stacking scholarships at certain schools.
Okay, and so understanding that, the other piece he wants me to talk to you is recognizing that HBCUs do not offer as many scholarships as the PWIs. Historically, black colleges and universities do not offer a lot of times as many scholarships as predominantly white institutions due to funding and so on and so forth. Recognizing that a lot of our students get scholarships based on their academic prowess. So again, academic is a big piece of it. Them having good grades in addition to a good game will sometimes change the makeup of a team and how a team is selected as far as recruiting, because scholarships, we might not have enough money to give them a full golf scholarship, so we might give them a half golf scholarship, and then the other half is supplied through our foundation, through academic honors programs and things of that nature. So then that is how they actually get through their 4 years with academics. and athletics together. And then last but not least, the most important thing is communicating to the student discipline, and that being a big part of it as far as resume building, volunteerism. It's not just about, I will take a mediocre player who has a good attitude, can demonstrate community service, teammates and things like that, and they have been in competition versus somebody who's an excellent player, but they have a nasty attitude. I've gone out to see them. Maybe they don't have as much, in tournament experience. Try to get them in tournaments because they can shoot a great score all day on their home course or the local courses that they live by. But if they don't have a certain amount of tournament experience, a lot of times they will get to college and sometimes their game will fall apart because the mental part has not been developed on a collegiate level, and so they might have shot a 72 at home and then they get to college and shoot a 98. So those are some of the factors that, if you write those down, those are some of the factors that we can do we can start developing them on an elementary level, on a middle school level, definitely before they get to high school. And if you have the opportunity and there's a HBCU next to you or your program, try to find grant funding or things like that and take them to the campus, because a lot of minority students do not step foot on a collegiate campus until they're a junior or senior in high school. Not to say that's too late, but again, to make it real and make it an opportunity, the earlier you get them to experience a college campus, just like traveling abroad or traveling nationally, there are certain experiences and knowledge that comes and development comes with those experiences. So if you're able to create that for your program, please go above and beyond to create that for your program.
And then, thank you, Jamila. I know we got time for one more question, Jim said, but she was talking about stacking. Some of these programs, like if you got a kid, a student athlete that wants to go to college, some colleges don't stack. So if you got a student athlete that is, let's say we'll say he's a 3.2. Or she's a 3.2, right? Well, Miles College might stack a scholarship with athletics and academics. You go down the road to another college, they may not stack, they may not do that. So those are some of the things that student athletes and parents need to also look at, right? And so, again, thank you. And then Ms. Johnson.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. I'd like to just piggyback. I would like to see DeBert and also the magazine bring a column that comes out every month about college golf. That article, what she said is priceless. The things that coaches don't have time to say all the time, but they could pick it up in a magazine, ask someone about college preparation, and that becomes an article in the African American Golf Digest to help, if you get with the following, is going to answer a lot of questions. Let me say that I am delighted to have been in the industry this long, but I was sitting there listening. I looked over at Pickney and I said to myself, when I first started out, I would send off 8 to 9 kids a year to various colleges. I had about 30-some colleges, and everybody was calling, who's in the 10th grade, who's in the 9th grade? And that's what coaches want to know. But they also ask about, what about the home? What about the parents? What about the grades? Where's their college resume as far as their golfing resume, as far as their school resume? And so we were very blessed we used to do 30 events a year. Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't happen now, but we would do 30 events traveling from coast to coast. And they had a wonderful resume and a wonderful outlook on what was going on in this country. But I would like to see, when we formed the program that was in Cleveland, it was the High School College Coaches Association. Now, all of the high school parents came down. You could pick one event. This is just an example or an opportunity, maybe would work. And you would ask parents around the country with outstanding high school players to come to one of your events. Because you know what a parent wants to see? They want to see the coach. And the coach, they had it where the coaches could meet and tell their philosophy to all these parents. It used to be 100 parents. We used to have maybe 60 or 70 high school players that would come down looking at the college teams. How do they dress? What is their discipline? How does the coach, the communication? Parents want to know that, and they saw all that in that one weekend. So that might be something that we could bring back, because we got enough junior golf programs in this organization. And we should come together and meet your organization at one event with our prospective high school players.
Yes, ma'am.
So that they could be prepared to do just what was said here today. And I know, I'm going to say this and sit down, I know when my daughter comes home, there are high school students that come and we sit with them over the Christmas vacation, talking about their grades, talking about there may have to be a Zoom meeting for people that want that, to see what goes on. So there are some of us that would like to share our old experience that can catch right back up with this event now and have it where the high school players can see the college teams.
Yeah, and I think that's doable. I think that's a very good point. I think that's doable. I think back to when Ernie was down. I met Ernie down in Port St. Lucie when he was down in Port St. Lucie, and I think Dr. Michael Cooper and them were bringing high schoolers and students to at that time the PGA minority, and there were students coming to that event. So I do remember that as well. But I think, Ms. Johnson, I think that's very good, because we need to educate them, and the coaches can educate, and I know Jamila touched on it, and then I'll close. They start coming to us at juniors and seniors. That's way too late. Way too late. We can't talk to them until they're juniors, right? But nothing says that they can't reach out to the coach. But oftentimes, the disappointments come in when the student athlete don't get called back, because when they call, those teams are already full. So we can talk more on that. I think is critical. Just like we've talked more about our women programs. When I went to Dustin Roberts about one of the Howard young ladies had mentioned about the awards. Why aren't we getting awards? I'm like, that makes a whole lot of sense. So we went to the WGCA, and I said, we're going to do this with you or without you, and they got on board with it, right? So we can get on board with it. I'm open, just like when I came to Tiffany and Peggy came to them about that award. They were on board with it. We just got to all in this room get creative. This organization, that's what we're here for. We're all coaches, right? So again, whatever you want, as long as I stand in this seat, as long as she stands in the seat, I can promise you we are here to work for you and our student athletes, our juniors, to get them to the next level if that's what they want. Okay.
Round of applause, please.